Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. I welcome all the devotees to our Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call of our Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Leela. And today we are very fortunate to have with us His Grace Ram Giridhari Prabhuji to enlighten on the Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Leela from 16.97 onwards. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining this call and giving your very valuable association and time this morning, Prabhuji. Please take over the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaurav Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. So, first of all, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for having me in this association and giving an opportunity to serve you all and help myself in the process. So we are in the, I would say, a kind of fag end of Antya Leela. We have another 3-4 chapters left. So the Mahaprabhu is slowly intensifying his mood and very nicely in this chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has explained that how Mahaprabhu has controlled his emotions when it comes to expressing themselves in front of general devotees. When there are visitors from other places to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Jagannath, so that time Mahaprabhu conducts himself very balanced. But then when he is with his confidential associates, then how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is exhibiting some transcendental emotions, some wonderful symptoms have been exhibited. So we are now in the section where Mahaprabhu is going to exhibit some amount of transcendental madness. Probably in the last 3 chapters, this is the 3rd or 4th or 5th time we would have spoken about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental ecstasy, exhibiting his transcendental ecstasy. So we will discuss from verse number 97 all the way till verse number 115, and we'll read them, and then we'll see we can churn some portion of this particular section. Prabhu kahe ye dila Krishna dharamritam brahmadi durlabhaye indaya amritam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, these are remnants of food that Krishna has eaten and thus turned to nectar with his lips. It surpasses heavenly nectar, and even such demigods as Lord Brahma find it difficult to obtain. Krishnera ye bhukta sesha tara phela namam tara ye kalava ye paya te bhagyavanam. remnants left by Krishna are called tela. Anyone who obtains even a small portion must be considered very fortunate. Text 99. सामान्य भाग्य हाइते तारा प्राप्ति नाही हायाम कृष्णे रयांते पूर्ण कृपा सेहिता अपायम. One who is only ordinarily fortunate cannot obtain such mercy. Only persons who have the full mercy of Krishna can receive such remnants. सुकृति शब्दे कहे कृष्ण कृपा हेतु पुण्याम तेहि यांद्रहया भेलापाय सेहि धन्यम. The word Sukriti refers to pious activities performed by the mercy of Krishna. One who is fortunate enough to obtain such mercy receives the remnants of the Lord's food and thus becomes glorious. एतबली प्रभुता सभारे विद्याधिलाम उपल भोग देखिया प्रभु निजवास आइलाम. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to all the servants. After seeing the next offering of food to Lord Jagannatha, a function known as Upala Bhoga, he returned to his own quarters. Madhyana Kariya Kailam Diksha Nirvahanam Krishna Dharamrita Sada Antare Smarana. After finishing his noon duties, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate his lunch, but he constantly remembered the remnants of Krishna's food. Bahyakritya karena preme garagaramanam kashte samvarana karena avesha saganam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his external activities, but his mind was filled with ecstatic love. With great difficulty, he tried to restrain his mind, but it would always be overwhelmed by very deep ecstasy. Sandhya kritya kari puna nijagana sange nibrite vashila nana Krishna katarange. After finishing his evening duties, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down with his personal associates in a secluded place and discussed the pastimes of Krishna in great jubilation. Text 105. Prabhura ingite Govinda prasada anilam puri bharadire Prabhu kichu pata ilam. Following the indications of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Govinda brought the prasadam of Lord Jagannatha. The Lord sent some to Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati. Text 106. Ramananda Sarvabhauma Swarupadi Gane Sabhare Prasada Dila Kariya Pantane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then gave shares of the prasadam to Ramananda Rai, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Swarup Damodar Goswami, and all other devotees. Next. Prashadera Saurabhya Madhurya Kari Ashwadhanam Alaukika Ashwade Sabhara Vishmita Hailamanam. As they tasted the uncommon sweetness and fragrance of the prasadam, everyone's mind was struck with wonder. Next. प्रभु कहे ये सब हया प्राकृत द्रव्य ऐक्षव कर्पूर मरीच एलाचिया लवंग गव्य रसवास गुडात्मक आदि यथा सभा प्राकृत वस्तुर स्वाद सभार अनुभव. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, these ingredients such as sugar, camphor, black pepper, cardamom, cloves, butter, spices, and licorice are all material. Everyone has tasted these material substances before. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The word prakrita refers to things tasted for the sense gratification of the conditioned soul. Such things are limited by material laws. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to make the point that material things have already been experienced by materially absorbed persons who are interested only in sense gratification. Te dravye et ashvada khanda lokapita ashvada kariya dheka sabara pratita. However, the Lord continued, in these ingredients there are extraordinary tastes and uncommon fragrances. Just taste them and see the difference in the experience. Ashvada dure rahu yara gandhe mate manam apana vina hanya madhurya karaya vishmaranam. Apart from the taste, even the fragrance pleases the mind and makes one forget any other sweetness besides its own. Text 112. Tate ye dravya krishnadhara sparsha hailam adharera gunasava ihate sanchayirila. Therefore, it is to be understood that the spiritual nectar of Krishna's lips has touched those ordinary ingredients and transferred to them all their spiritual qualities. Purport. Since everybody had previously tasted these ingredients, why had they become extraordinary and spiritually delicious? This was proof that food, prasadam, becomes uncommonly flavorful and delicious by touching Krishna's lips. Text 113. Alaukika kandaswada anya vishmarana mahamadaka haya ei Krishna darera gunam. A fragrance and taste that are uncommon and greatly enchanting, and that make one forget all other experiences or attributes of Krishna's lips. Aneka sukrite iha hanache samprapti sabe ei ashvadakara kari maha bhakti. This prasadam has been made available only as a result of many pious activities. Now taste it with great faith and devotion. The last verse for today. Haridvani kari sabe kaila ashvadhanam ashvadite preme matta haila sabharamanam. Loudly chanting the name, holy name of Hari, all of them tasted prasadam. As they tasted it, their minds became mad in the ecstasy of love. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakayam Chakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namam Vishnu Padayam Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedantam Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Once again, it's a pleasure to be in the association of devotees like you all, and that too discussing the nectar of Chaitanya Charitamrita makes it much more interesting and much more relishing, because we are in the context of relishing Krishna Prasadam. So let us relish the nectar of Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami had given to us. Every time when such context, when we get to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu behaving and responding to spiritual aspects, definitely there are a lot of lessons for us to learn, because it is just not about Mahaprabhu's madness. It is just not about some spiritual sentiment that is expressed over here. It is actually a science underlying them. So, as usual, we are going to churn this current context and see what nectar do we have for us to learn from this current context. Our movement is very well known as Prasadam movement. In fact, one of the successful ways by which we have got devotees committing themselves to this missionary activities is because of honoring Prasadam. And Srila Prabhupada, when he started off in New York, apart from his lectures, Love and Care and Harinam, one thing by which he could attract the boys and girls was giving them Krishna Prasadam. So we will churn few reflections, both from a sadhaka and an external perspective, as well as deep learners, by diving into the context of it and see if there is any inner reflections, meaning that we can derive. So we are going to divide this discussion into two parts. One is that which is, I would say, an external reason, external explanation. And I say external doesn't mean it is incomplete or anything to demean, but it is something to be understood, explained as a Shraddhalu Sadhaka. But we will also talk one more aspect wherein we will dive into the context of it and see, for serious practitioners, do we have some nectar to draw from here. So that's how the next 40 minutes we are going to spend. The first reflection is about the Siddhanta of Prasadam. Jayapatak Maharaj once gave a session during the Gaura Purnima time. Probably this was in the year 2003 or 2002. I'm not exactly remembering. If I'm right, it was the same year that I got Brahmin Diksha in Mayapur. So he gave a fantastic lecture on prasadam and how we as congregation devotees should handle what type of food to eat, not to eat. A whole lot of discussion on that. But there's some learning, in the over the last several years in being Krishna consciousness on this prasadam siddhanta. So my first reflection is on that, because here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is glorifying all those words that are spoken today, are spoken by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who has personally glorified the rarity, the purity, and the speciality of Krishna Prasadam. Because Mahaprabhu says how it is rare, he says how it is pure, and he is also saying how it is special. We will talk about these three aspects of it as a first reflection. Krishna Prasadam's rarity. Why it is rare? Everywhere there are Krishna's picture, everybody, seems to be having, when I say everybody, even outside of ISKCON, circle, we get to see, people who are definitely worshipping the Lord. So they may have also some practices in their own respective places. But here, Krishna Prasadam's rarity is explained about the bona fide aspect of the way it is offered to Krishna and the remnants are brought back and served. This process of Krishna consciousness is a science and just not a formality. Rupa Goswami Pad explains that anytime when we perform devotional life as a formality, then our spiritual life is doomed, because anything done as a formality will also be given up when other priorities come up. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says the remnants that you are all receiving, the one that has just brought back from Lord Jagannath's altar, they are bona fide Mahaprasadam, not that something is offered to Krishna or shown to Krishna or done as a formality. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj gives a very wonderful example. Several times we have spoken about this, but in this context I remind them. There was a Brahmana who was performing Shaligram Puja, and very sincere Brahmana, but unfortunately he did not teach that sincerity and love and devotion as much as he had to his son. So he is a Asthana Pujari in the palace. Every palace used to have a temple, and he is the Asthana Pujari. So naturally, after the Brahmana's death, his son got the privilege to take over the responsibility. So, but unfortunately, the son was a Nastika, atheist. And the son, when he was performing puja, everybody in this world were thinking that we are currently worshipping Shaligrama. And only this man knew that he has no faith that Krishna existed or, there is God. He thought it's just a job that can give me my monthly, salary. So he used to maintain his life just by that, procedural thing, and did not have faith in what he was doing. One day, badam, pistachios, or whatever, you may call, was brought. Badam could be, peanuts, pistachios, whatever that has, chilka, which has got, has its covering to be removed. So that was brought to the Shaligram Shila for offering, and this man had got a weakness over that badam. So he didn't even wait for the entire offering, even whatever he was doing as a formality. He took that plate in, closed the curtain, and he started to break the badam so that he can eat and enjoy them. Because nobody knew what is going on behind the curtain. And he couldn't break. So technically, he thought that easiest way to break is, I use the shaligram and break the badam. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj says, badam banga shaligram sange. He was such a rascal that he didn't realize that he is, using Krishna. Shaligram is Krishna himself. He didn't have faith on them, and finally, he got caught red-handed, and then, of course, things got exposed. So the point I want trying to drive home here is that it is a rarity to see that Krishna is properly worshipped according to the directions of Goswamis, in which Bhoga is offered for Krishna's pleasure. Bhoga is, offered by a qualified person. So the process is that such process is a rarity nowadays. Because everything has become a formality. Unfortunately, even within ISKCON, sometimes we see scenarios where some so-called devotees, they're trying to pose themselves as devotees and try to cheat for some material results. So, to get Krishna Prasadam from a bona fide source is a rarity. And Krishna Prasadam's purity is explained, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself here. He's saying that how just by the fragrance of Krishna Prasad, so we get purified. What to speak of, honoring them? Several episodes in our history where honoring of Krishna Prasadam, whether it is Pani Hati Chittadahi festival, whether it is Raghunandan Thakur's, offering to Krishna the Bhoga, and eventually Krishna performing the Leela, eating the laddu and get to see by Raghunandan Thakur's father, whether to, talk about Advaita Charya's feeding Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the, different ingredients and with love and devotion, Sachi Mata feeding, several instances of, and in Jagannath Puri there are several pastimes. There's a pastime of Bandhu Mohanty, who had been very hungry, though Jagannath himself personally came and delivered Mahaprasadam to him, and eventually showed to the whole world how great devotee he was. So there are several pastimes, but the drive home point is that this prasadam, the Mahaprasadam, the remnant of the Supreme Lord is, so special that it can purify the heart, the contaminated heart. Srila Prabhupada could convince, could easily preach, could transform meat eaters, glechas, chandalas, yavanas, just by prasadam. Day before yesterday, we had Jayananda Prabhu's disappearance day. One of the easiest way Jayananda Prabhu tried to preach was he used to constantly give prasadam to all those whomever he meets. So the prasadam's effect is, it has made hippies to happies. It has made all of us, in spite of whoever we are, to come and sit in front of, several devotees and speak Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. By our own qualification, by my own qualification, I don't stand anywhere. But just because of acceptance of Krishna Prasadam, we had some transformation. That is why, the name for Gulab Jamun is ISKCON Bullets. But just by honoring them, Prabhupada used to make them in a container and keep it in the, storefront. Anyone can come, can take as much as they want. As much as they can as well. So Srila Prabhupada knew that the easiest way by which somebody can be, tamed, somebody can be trained, somebody can be groomed in Krishna consciousness is to regulate the tongue. Vacho Vegam. And Vacho Vegam can be regulated by Japa as well as Prasadam. Of course, glorification of the Supreme Lord. So by just feeding Prasadam, just doing, if there is nothing that we can do, if you can't make a person even chant Krishna's name, our preaching strategy had some hierarchical approach. The last snare approach, or even the first that way for that matter, is to give somebody Prasadam. If you give Prasadam, in fact, when I started practicing my Krishna consciousness, I had a very interesting upbringing where we are from a South Indian traditional Brahmin family. So we had our own set of arrogances, knowing that we know everything. Who are these foreigners coming and telling what are we supposed to do? That's the kind of mentality we had. And what really tamed, really trained, really groomed is about the prasadam that that we consumed, that we had the association of devotees. So the power of prasadam is to transform the most degraded mentality person with most degraded consciousness to become a self-realized soul. In fact, some of my cousins used to ask, how is that possible in ISKCON? You guys are able to make a person a vegetarian, while several times, several institutions, several people are trying to make someone a vegetarian, they are not able to. But here, we don't even try any extra endeavor to make vegetarian. We just give them Krishna Prasad. Once somebody constantly consumes Krishna Prasad, naturally he loses his taste for materialistic things. I have several students, who have confessed this. They used to fall flat for non-vegetarian food stuff. But when they started consuming Krishna Prasad, bona fide Krishna Prasad, they really experienced what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained over here, that they experienced some ecstasy and natural detachment for other, forms of food. The third aspect is about speciality. The speciality of Krishna Prasad is such that not everyone is given this privilege. Not everyone have got this, opportunity. Only those who are fortunate, only those who are chosen candidates, they can come and, get this Krishna Prasad. And that is why we call Vaishnavas more merciful than Krishna, because they not only give prasadam to those who are coming to the temple, they go out of the way to make and distribute prasadam to everyone, so that fortune, that speciality that devotees received, others too also receive. So Srila Prabhupada started this Food for Life program. This Food for Life program was begun not only to quench, not only to satisfy, not only to fill the belly of poor, hungry people, it is also to full and satisfy those who are materially engrossed. So my first reflection is that how Krishna Prasadam is rare, Krishna Prasadam is pure, Krishna Prasadam is special. The second reflection is about, in terms of Krishna Prasadam, generally when we say four things. Who cooked, who offered, who served, and who ate. All these four involves in the bona fide aspects of Krishna Prasadam to get the complete result of it. And if all the four are done in the right consciousness, then the effect of prasadam is fully experienced. If you see the procedural wise, the seva wise, a person who is supposed to cook for the Lord or for devotees, they cannot be anyone and everyone. According to Rupa Goswami Pad, the person who is cooking, his consciousness is definitely involved in the process of making Krishna Prasada, process of making Bhoga. Hence, a person who is cooking should also have some qualification. So, if an ingredient becomes prasadam, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains, an ingredient has become prasadam not just because of any simple reason. There are science underneath that, and the science is that who cooks them, in what consciousness they cook them, and who offers them, in what consciousness they offer them, and who serves them, in what consciousness they serve, and the consciousness of the person who is eating. Each of them is definitely important, and we cannot eliminate one above the other. But then the most important aspect is that they are all four, when they are done for the pleasure of the Lord, then it gets this complete success or complete glory, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained over here. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this is not just some food. This is not just some, it is like, for example, when you get a food cooked by your mother, every one of us invariably, unless there are some exceptions, for them the most fond food is what their mom or their most beloved person cooked for them. After marriage, after children, after graduation, after growing up, what one remembers is the food that cooked by mother. It is generally said it is not about just the taste of it. It is about the love with which it has been made, the love with which it has been served, the consciousness, the thought process behind making such a preparation, even though it may be a simple dal kishri. So what involves in this entire prasadam arrangement? Here Jagannath Prasadam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorifies, appreciates, is because it has got all these four ingredients in toto, and it has got love imbued, completely mixed up with the ingredients. That's why he says these are all not just ordinary ingredients. These ordinary ingredients you would have tasted. These ordinary ingredients you would have several times, several places would have tasted. But the real effect, the real experience of you getting them from Sri Jagannath's plate is something unique. I'm sure each and every one of us have got this experience. I do have plenty of time. Especially there are stories where, we would have cooked and ate, but we would have cooked, offered and ate. It made a big difference. As soon as Krishna ate them, it has got a different taste altogether. Rather, I would put it this way: when there is love involved, when there is love imbued, when there is love overlaid, then the experience we get is not material. The experience we get is completely transcendental, if that love is towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His beloved. So my second reflection hence is, as a Siddhanta on Prasadam, we need to know that these particular ingredients or the foodstuffs or the remnants they are not just material, they are not just some vastu, they are not just some thing. They are consciousness, they are actually Krishna himself. There is no difference, it is absolutely non-different from Krishna. So one of the reasons, we need to understand this science more and more is about, we are coming to the second aspect of our discussion, which is about the internalizing the current context. As an external basic philosophical understanding, we know how prasadam is rare, how prasadam is pure, how prasadam is special, and prasadam means cooked by, served by, offered by, and ate by a devotee with right consciousness, with love, then definitely there is a transforming experience. Now let us come to the internalizing part of this whole Krishna consciousness science on prasadam. The point is, which you can call as a third reflection, where it is not only Krishna Prasad, it is actually Krishna's devotees' remnants are equally and scientifically potent for us to get transformed. Vaishnavera Uchishta. Vaishnavera Uchishta, the remnants of the food. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, there are three things that acts like a catalyst for our progress in Krishna consciousness. When we say catalyst, definitely there should be a main process. The main process is chanting. The main process is that, Harinam Sankirtan. For that process, there are three ingredients which acts like a catalyst to, expedite the result. Number one is Vaishnavera Uchishta, the remnants left by a Vaishnava. Number two is Vaishnavera Padaduli, the food, the dust particles from the lotus feet of the devotees. Number three is Charanamrita, the water washed of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. This is generally not publicly or freely discussed because it is not a gross thing that we just go and grab it. It is extremely important that, it's extremely important that we need to know that these things are very subtle and are explained, experienced only by serious practitioners. We should not arbitrarily, amateurishly imitate such grabbing and such, stealing or such taking. That is why Gurudev's Mahaprasad, a remnant left by a spiritual master, is generally not given out freely to anyone and everyone. Only a disciple has got an adhikar to get them, and that too when they are in right consciousness. Because they are all considered as catalysts. Why catalysts? The reason is, the moment that we associate with them, we naturally develop a sense of humility. When I accept the remnants of food from my spiritual master, when I accept the dust of the spiritual masters or Vaishnava's lotus feet, when I drink the Charanamrita, then I naturally accept I am their servant, I fall at their feet, I am like a foot, doormat for them, which means they can engage me in their service, which fine-tunes our spiritual understanding and eliminate the ahankar, eliminate the pride within us to make us eligible to go deeper in Krishna consciousness. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is calling out everyone and says, take this nectar and enjoy, as soon as Krishna sees them, touch them, as soon as Krishna, it has come in contact with Krishna, this has become Mahaprasad, and the same effect is extrapolated or extended when it is touched by Krishna's dear devotees too. So several times even Krishna would want to even grab his devotees Uchishta, because Krishna likes to have, is because when in Vrindavan Leela, especially when they were sharing each other's food, there's no concept of chuta. There's no concept of who eats who's leftover. They were all just mixing up each other, and so much of love was exchanged. Even, psychologically, philosophically, they say that when you eat the leftover, you actually exchange the consciousness of that person. That is why in Vedic system, the system of eating the leftovers, and nowadays people don't have that concept of jhuta. Jhuta in Hindi means eating somebody else's leftover or somebody else's, if they had a bite and you just have a bite on them and they have a bite over that. So we don't do that, because as a part of this exchange, there is a consciousness mix-up. We try to inherit, we try to, carry that person's consciousness. That is why generally it is considered as unclean habit. But when the same thing is done from a Vaishnava for a Vaishnava, it is considered as the most clean and a superlative catalyst. The very simple reason is the underlying consciousness and understanding, about it. If somebody does it just purely for eating and enjoying, we would have seen by now, anybody serving birthday cake, they'll just take one, cut the cake, same pie, put it on everybody's mouth. That is not Vaishnava culture. That is considered as disrespectful. That is considered as something which, in a very deeper Krishna consciousness. I'm not trying to, point out anybody's personal habits, but if you really go by serious Krishna consciousness practice of means, we should follow the system etiquette of how to serve, what to serve, and what to eat, what not to eat, and what not to serve. If you have, tasted them, eaten them, they touched the lips of a person, he's not supposed to give it to others who is senior or who is considered as irresponsible or disrespectful. Then anyway, my third reflection hence is about the science of Krishna consciousness in terms of Krishna Prasad, remanence, Mahaprasad should be extended to Krishna's devotees, because for us, we don't know Krishna. We have not seen Krishna. We have not experienced Krishna. We are worshipping Krishna out of respect, out of just some, maybe awe and reverence. But with our beloved devotees, with our seniors, with our spiritual masters, we have much more than awe and reverence. There's a layer of love. There is a layer of care. There is a layer of, being responsible towards them, and spiritual master being, caring towards us. So with that, when the remnants are accepted, then that loving exchange adds to our progress to being fast in Krishna conscious journey. And the fourth reflection is a little more deeper, where whenever we talk about ingredients touched by Krishna's lips, it is just not about prasadam alone. It is also about instruction. Because Bhagavad Gita is the instruction spoken by Krishna from his own self. So instructions by the Supreme Lord is equally called Mahaprasadam. The sound vibration produced by Krishna's lips when he was playing flute is equally considered Mahaprasadam. Any aspect, Angani Yasya Sakala Indriya Vritti Manti, Krishna's one sense can perform the function of another sense. So the point is, the remanence that we call as prasadam is just not about that is Krishna's leftover food or Krishna's prasadam. That's definitely there. But what we also need to understand is also about Krishna's instruction. So when we hear those instructions, and when those instructions are chanted and recited by a bona fide devotee, when the sound vibrations come through the chain of disciplic succession, when they hit the ears, and when the person who is hearing them has got his sincerity, and has got the power to deeply uproot, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains, the fragrance that you smell, the sound vibration that you hear, the darshan of having them, the the touch, the words that you speak, every senses that are associated with Krishna, that is coming from Krishna, they're all Krishna prasadam, they're all remnants. That is why when an arati is performed, when diya is performed, we put it upon our forehead and worship them. We don't eat them. When flowers are offered, we smell them. When the water is offered, we sprinkle upon ourselves. When food is offered, we eat them. So we are supposed, similarly, when instructions are given, when Krishna speaks those words, then they are supposed to be, heard and accepted. That will have the same purifying effect as purifying effect of Krishna Prasadam. That is why when Srila Prabhupada spoke, so when Srila Prabhupada made the devotees chant Hare Krishna, honor Prasadam, at the same time speak the Krishna Katha, all three of them transformed the lives of those hippies. Otherwise, there was no hope for them. They had tried everything. They had tried LSD, they had tried marijuana, they had tried everything possible that they could get kicked from. They could get enjoyment, they could get, really get high. But the real high they got when they were chanting in the association of devotees and whilst they were honoring Prasadam and hearing Krishna Katha. So my fourth reflection is about how the lips, anything touched by Krishna's lips, how the Prasadam becomes sweet. Similarly, the instructions. Bhagavad Gita, Kinchita Jita, Ganga Jalalava Kanika Apita, Sakritapi Ena Murari Samarcha, Kriyate Tasya Yamena Charcha. So it is extremely important that you know Bhagavad Gita, Kinchita Jita, even little bit of exposure to Bhagavad Gita, the supreme science of Krishna consciousness, if somebody got exposed to that, so then Kriyate Tasya Yamena Charcha, he doesn't need to worry about Yamaraj, because as soon as the sound vibration of Bhagavad Gita, the transcendental signs, when we hear them, we are immediately getting purified, provided we are hearing from a bona fide source. Avaishnava Mukotkiranam Putam Harikata Amritam Shravanam Naiva Kartavyam Sarpa Uchishta Yatapayaha. That's my fifth and last reflection. Hence, that all these things are glorious, but Avaishnava Mukotkiranam Putam Harikata Amritam Shravanam Naiva Kartavyam. So none of these things, either it is food or Harikatha, we don't receive it from a Vaishnava. Just because, that is why Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, one of the purports, we don't accept the offerings, prasadam from a demigod, that is offered by a non-devotee, because it would have not been done in a proper consciousness, in a proper, manner. Even though demigods are Krishna's devotees, but if somebody offers food to the demigod, claiming the demigod to be a supreme, claiming the demigod to be everything, the demigod is offended. So instead of honoring the prasadam, he is upset. So it is extremely important in the process of Krishna consciousness. It is just not what we do, it is also about how we do and what consciousness we do. So my last reflection in this context is that Vaishnava Mukha Udgirnam. So we are not mainly coming to hearing. Of course, since it is extension, we are not even supposed to accept anything from a Vaishnava, because Sarpa Uchishta Yatapaya. Maybe it is milk, but milk touched by the lips of a serpent as good as got the poisonous effect. So from that standpoint, we need to be very careful of receiving the knowledge, prasadam, or anything to do with Krishna consciousness from a right bona fide source. If we don't receive them, then if you don't receive from the bona fide source and receive them from a Vaishnava, then our spiritual life is doomed. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that for us to receive such a blessing, we need Sukriti. It is not one lifetime, two lifetimes, it is several lifetimes. So as a concluding note, I would like to say that we should not become familiar to Krishna Prasad. We should not become familiar to Krishna's holy name. we should not become familiar to Krishna's devotees. We should neither become familiar to Krishna Katha, to so much so that we tend to take them lightly. Incidentally, all us congregation devotees, we have our own bad days, we have our own days where what we would have cooked and offered to Krishna several days, at least in my life, I've done this heinous act of throwing away, wasting prasadam. So at least when we read this verse, it is another alarm. It's another message to us saying that we should be responsible enough in handling prasadam carefully, because only those who have got utmost sukriti, utmost blessing, they can only get them. So if we have got them, if you have got the privilege to them, at least we should not waste Krishna prasadam. We should not waste Krishna's instructions that we have received. We should not waste Krishna's devotees association that we have received. Neither we should waste an opportunity for us to serve the Supreme Lord, because they are an aspect of rarity. So my conclusion note onto this current context of 5 reflection is that better not to become familiar to this process, because familiarity breeds contempt, and we naturally tend to get familiar because every day we get them. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is demonstrating every day. He is making sure that Govinda goes and he gets the prasadam and he distributes to everyone, not only keeps to himself, and every day the same amount of respect and importance given to Mahaprasadam. And he is reinstating, he is making sure his devotees and all the fellow members understand them. So Srila Prabhupada has definitely taught us this, principle of how are we supposed to be responsible when dealing with prasadam. But sometimes in our regular matter of regular routine, some days there are sometimes we do tend to disrespect, ignore, mishandle, not properly distribute or keep the prasad. For us it is just an external formality, but every morsel, every grain of prasad is transcendental and it can deliver. So we should make sure we don't stamp on them. We should make sure that we don't throw them out in a reckless manner. We should make sure that it is not dishonored or kept in a very irresponsible manner and it's getting wasted. All those things are definitely abominable, which we should tend to avoid. So to summarize our conversation, we had 5 reflections. As a matter of fact, we are in a very obvious subject matter here about the glories of Krishna Prasad and how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu responded. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could see Krishna Prasad and Jagannath as non-different, he is deriving that ecstasy. As Srimati Radharani would derive the ecstasy of anything to do with Krishna, even if it is some name indirectly associated with Krishna, she would go mad after that. So this is the height of devotion. So with that mood, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is bestowing his mercy to all the assembled members, and is also giving them an importance of what he is giving. So we spoke how, number 1, prasadam is rare. To get real Krishna prasadam is rare, and to get Krishna prasadam is pure, because it is definitely going to help us pure our heart and consciousness. And third is how Krishna prasadam is very special. The second reflection we had is that prasadam in total means that who cooks, who offers, who serves, who eats, and they all are if they are all in the right consciousness for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, as a matter of love towards the Supreme Lord, then we get the transcendental effect of them. Third reflection that we spoke about is not only Krishna prasadam, it is not only the remnants of Krishna, it is also Krishna's devotees' remnants have got that utmost purifying effect as one of the catalysts of 3 catalysts, which is remnants, Charanamrita, and the dust in the lotus of the devotees are classified as 3 catalysts in the process of Krishna consciousness. So, and the fourth reflection is about how Krishna's instructions, the words emanating from the mouth of the Supreme Lord, and the words emanating from the mouth of Krishna's devotees, they are also Mahaprasadam, they are also remnants, or anything from that perspective is purifying for us. So we need to make sure that the same lips which tasted the bhoga is also giving instructions, and those instructions are Mahaprasad. So what Srila Prabhupada has given us He's distributing his books or Mahaprasad. He is making sure that what he has received from Krishna, he is giving it to all of us the way Mahaprabhu is giving to all the persons. So we need to make sure that we accept them and not waste them. And last but not least, we need to make sure that none of these things should have any connect with a Vaishnava or a person who have got any materialistic or business motive. A Vaishnava Mukhodkirnam Putam Harikatamritam. So we need to ensure that we don't have any Atma Sambandh, any connection with those who have got any materialistic or ill motive towards these things, and we should not accept them just because the names of Krishna are associated with them. It's just not alone the name, even though it is purifying. It is also about the intent and also about the attitude of a person, or the source from where we are getting these things. Finally, as a concluding note, we just mentioned that how for all these things, which are all obvious topics, known topics, time and again we have discussed this topic, and whilst we are heading up towards higher dimensional topics, these all are supposed to be not treated as some with familiarity, because when we get familiar to Krishna Prasad, we tend to overlook upon Prasadam's ability. So if at all I can say that we are remaining sane, is because of the Prasad that we eat, the holy name that we chant, the sound vibration that we hear, and all the five senses being associated with Krishna in some capacity. So we need to make sure that we avoid familiarity and not to waste anything to do with Krishna, rather handle them carefully and responsibly. So thank you so much. If there are any questions or comments, I'll be happy to respond. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sai Gaurav Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this very wonderful and clarifying class, Prabhuji. Lastly, I had questions about this of honoring prasadam from a demigods. So that is also totally, completely vanished from my mind, Prabhuji. Thank you for this very wonderful class, Prabhu. Just I have some small question, Prabhu. At the time of Krishnashtami, many of the devotees, they are not devotees, but on the festival occasion, they prepare prasadam and they distribute. So at that time, they are not Vaishnavas, but on the point of festival occasion, they prepare. So can we accept prasadam from a Vaishnava on that day, Prabhu?
The understanding why that is facilitated that way is they are under the direction of a bona fide, Vaishnava. The whole point is about how we are careful enough in making sure that our doggish mentality is not, involved with this. So when we do such a service, such a mass cooking, engage devotees in such things, so there is always somebody called as head cook, or under the authority, under the direction of some, senior members. So they are supposed to take responsibility in seeing that those who are involved in the service, are they clean, what they talk, how they dress, how they conduct themselves. So it is both ways. It's an opportunity for those people who are getting involved to get purified, as well as because it is done under the authority of a senior devotee, because we should understand that it is he who cooks them, because he has taken the responsibility and he is he knowing the mindset to be involved in. So that way it is appreciated. At the same time, when it comes to the DT Boga, so generally it is preferred or encouraged as a matter of seva, as a matter of seva routine, and the standard of DT worship. It is always encouraged that a person with proper consciousness, proper mannerism, proper dress, proper address, proper things only does the service, because Pancharatrika has got both components, love component as well as procedural components, because we are in sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti means if there is no proper procedure followed, then sadhana is wavering. So when it comes to DT worship standards, we need to maintain certain things. But festival cooking, if you do, that's why you see what is offered to the Lord, it is generally cooked by some brahmanas and some special cooks in the kitchen. What is generally cooked for the mass, it is also prasadam. It's not anywhere less than prasadam, but they are classified just purely as a matter of handling the Pancharatrika vidhi standards. so that the deity standards are never compromised. At the same time, opportunities are given for younger and new devotees to get purified also. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, dear devotees. So I request anybody have any questions for Prabhuji, please raise your hand. We can go accordingly. Okay, please, Arupali Mataji, you can unmute yourself and you can go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, if we are living in a joint family and the cooking prasadam is means whoever is cooking should at least follow the 4 regulative principle. This is our rule. So if we are living in joint family and few of them are not following and they are cooking and we are offering and few steps are missing like cooking, offering and then serving. So how should we manage this? Because we cannot cook separate, that is also a problem, and then how should we manage it?
It's a very tricky and very intricate thing. Typically, in any congregation, upcoming congregations, family, these are all normal scenario. See, this have to be handled with care. The principle here is, for sure, when it comes to offering Krishna, we need to make sure all the care is given on person cooking, person offering, person serving, person eating. The principle of a devotee who is in the house taking the responsibility to govern the process as much as possible will be appreciated by Krishna, and further opportunity will be given for refining the thing. So generally my understanding is, within our best ability, within our best arrangement, if we try to do that and work out of the comfort zone, because most of the times what happens is that we cover ourselves behind a problem or behind a situation. I'm not pointing to any individual, but most of the time, if we are interested in going that one extra mile, for example, if we had replace the word God with your child, your own children, your own child who need to be fed, and you have a reason, to be fed, to feed your child because you love them. So we would have ways and means, or also some conversation with your so-called other family members to still manage to provide what your child would need the best. So the intent here is, Hanumat Prashik Maharaj once mentioned that Srila Prabhupada explained that each and every grahastha should worship the Supreme Lord to the best of their capacity. To the best, then I asked, if they don't do that, they will fall down. That's the statement he made. I was a bit shocked. What do you mean with best of your capacity? Then he made a statement saying that each and every one of us would know, am I trying my best, or am I just covering myself behind, my situation? Oh, my situation is like that. My house is like that. My husband is like that. My wife is like that. My children is like that. My money status is like that. So there are several reasons that we can hide, but there are several reasons why, in spite of all of them, I am doing it. So we have stories where Ramanujacharya's disciple, very, very poor disciple he was. So one day Ramanujacharya happened to visit that disciple's house. So when he knocked on the door, the lady inside the house, she opened the house and she peeped outside. It was her Guru Maharaj, and she asked her Guru Maharaj, Gurudev, can you please give me your uttariya, your chadar? So Ramanujacharya understood that probably she's so poor, she doesn't even have proper clothing to cover herself, but she knew that she does not have any reason to give an excuse to welcome his Gurudev. So she actually took the chadar uttariya, covered herself, received Ramanujacharya, gave him seat, gave him water, made him wait for a few minutes, went to the neighbor place, begged alms, collected grains, cooked boga, and fed Ramanujacharya. So we can very easily say that Baba, there's nothing at home cooked. So thank you so much for coming. We will figure out something. But several times in the scriptures, we have stories where how devotees have gone out of their comfort zone. So technically speaking, in our progressive path of Krishna consciousness, what matters the most is your endeavor and how much you endeavor, how sincere your endeavor, how deep you endeavor. Mistakes are definitely forgiven. Krishna does not look at the ingredients, organic nature or inorganic nature, or from where you have bought the ingredient. Krishna's ingredient is your love. How much best you tried, how much effort that you put in to please Krishna. Your love supersedes the formality. For sure, formality is good, important, but in cases in families. And last point is, it is always incremental. First, it starts at the desire level. We desire for it. For example, if your standard at the house is not so up to the mark according to the description, then start desiring. Have a burning desire within that Krishna, I really genuinely want to serve you. A very wonderful, prasadam. So please give me a opportunity to do that. The more and more you try, do you think all these hippies, all these so-called devotees who originally joined Srila Prabhupada had their own clean habits? Srila Prabhupada tolerated them. Initially, they were not clean. They didn't know how to even conduct themselves. But when Prabhupada tolerated them, trained them, took them along, gave them necessary, ingredients and blessings, and at a point in time, you could see them transform. The same thing is what we are supposed to do. Carry Krishna in your heart, cooperate with the current situation, make sure that you take one step at a time. But the step first comes from you within, and try to, take you one step forward outside of the comfort zone so that we can be Krishna conscious. I do not have any straightforward in your house how this can be managed, in somebody else's house how that can be managed. It is only, case to case basis it has to be handled. But as a principle, what I just said is, what I can understand for this particular situation. Am I making sense?
Yes, Prabhuji, whatever you said that can be done. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So now we will go to next devotee. Gail Mataji, please unmute yourself and then you can go with your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, one question about the prasadam. I always think of prasadam as, since it's Krishna's mercy, I maybe it's a misconception, but I thought that it really couldn't be contaminated. So let's say one person takes a bite of it, not any, elevated soul, just the ordinary devotee, and gives it to somebody else. Well, will that somebody else imbibe the consciousness of the person who took a bite of that prasadam? Let's say it's even, very high quality prasadam. Will there be some kind of contamination of consciousness there?
Very, wonderful question, and also technical and slightly complicated. I'll try to explain. There are episodes where Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj pastime, where he and a dog, they used to have prasadam from the same plate, or they used to share with him. So the first point is, prasadam cannot be contaminated, for sure. Yes, the prasadam remains a prasadam if they are properly offered by bona fide source, properly cooked. So then they cannot be contaminated. They retain their glorious nature. So the Jagannath Mahaprasadam, one of the uniqueness of Jagannath Mahaprasadam is the same thing, that even if it is stale, even if it is completely rotten, it is still, holds the sanctity, the purity. Having said that, in our Vaidhi sadhana, in our procedural growing, there is something called as some conduct in terms of mannerism, or what we need to follow in terms of etiquette, which we call as seva or seva aparada. So if by somebody else eaten and the remnants somebody else eats, will the consciousness spread? In one sense, yes. Whilst the prasadam sanctity, purity is intact, but we also, try to share the other person's consciousness as well, in one sense. So there are two planes of operation. One is those who are in the plane of completely transcendently situated. They are shielded off of these particular, variables. They are purely, operating on the platform of Krishna consciousness. It is immaterial because their consciousness is absolutely resonating with the spiritual consciousness. So these aspects are, not considered non-material. For example, cleanliness is a very important component of deity worship. You have to be absolutely clean. But look at where Sanatana Goswami used to sit. Sanatana Goswami used to sit wearing a loin cloth, sit underneath a tree. Where does he make his roti from? He just makes it in some chula, some, makeshift stove. So I'm just talking about quote unquote cleanliness. So it may not be up to the standard in deity worship standard that we would expect. But Sanatana Goswami's saltless, sabji-less roti was appreciated by Madan Mohan. So one plane is that person who's operating on the platform of transcendence. For him, these variables don't matter. They go past all these external, considerations. Now, when it comes to practicing devotees, why we say these things are to be noticed is because this should not be wrongly applied in all the situations. So hence, these are all called seva practices, or we call the seva aparada, or you can call it Vaishnava etiquette. So as a matter of that, we don't encourage, because the consciousness of the person from whom you have consumed is also, in a subtle manner carries. We take responsibility. Also, we take, we try to let loose ourselves by taking a risk, just in case if we do not know who that person is. So in general, normal practice, yes, our consciousness do get passed on to the other person. Having said that, the prasadam will have its effect also. It will have a mixed effect on a person who is considering, who's honoring them. That's my understanding. Maybe I am wrong or maybe incomplete in my understanding. Does it make sense?
So I'm trying to process. So if I understood you correctly, I don't know how to say it other than Muchi Prasadam. If it's being given to an elevated person, his consciousness is so pure that he won't be affected. But a sadhaka, he is vulnerable. As you say, it does seem a little complicated because, in either case, the prasadam does not lose any purity. And because of that, it just seems a little bit complicated, because if no purity is lost when, a person of lower consciousness touches it, then I'm not so clear, I guess, on why another sadhaka would be adversely affected,
Okay. In first place, you have definitely translated the understanding correctly. I'll just clarify the last point. My understanding is that while the prasadam is pure, it is just about the vulnerability and the nature, because when we associate, it is like somebody touching your feet. according to the system, if I touch somebody's feet, I am accepting that I am ready to take a part of your karma for myself. So when if this is the procedure, when a disciple touches the feet of the spiritual master, because the spiritual master has already accepted that you are my disciple and I have taken responsibility for you, he allows it. Otherwise, in general, touching somebody's feet is not allowed, because it's not allowed is allowed. It is purely when you allow, you should also understand that you are accepting his portion of karma to you in exchange to something that you are giving him of your sukriti. So giving away this muchi prasadam is also having such a responsibility of your conduct. It is purely about how vulnerable, how immune are you. As you go up in the ladder, these things don't matter, because your seriousness in Krishna consciousness shields you from all this, vulnerability. But at a very nascent level, sometimes instead of prasadam, we would, rather, hung up on the person from whom we ate or what we ate, and this may set a very wrong precedence also in our Vaishnava conduct. This matter of more of a practical thing rather than anything to do with prasadam's purity per se. Prasadam's purity will still be intact. It is like Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Krishna's name is pure. Krishna's name is absolute. How come hearing Krishna's name from a Vaishnava is considered as bad? Why we say Avaishnava Mukhodgirnam Bhutam Harikatamritam? Why do we say that we are not supposed to hear from a non-bona fide devotees? Why do we say we are not supposed to hear from a Vaishnava? Why it is considered as milk touched by the lips of the serpent? Because of the associated consciousness and intent of that person. So my same, this how holy name is pure. Still, even if you heard, you will still have some sukriti. Hearing the holy name from a non-devotee, you will have some sukriti, some benefit, but not as much as otherwise you would have heard from a pure devotee. Does it make sense?
Well, actually, I think you opened up a Pandora's box, because that you just brought up a point that, I have actually never understood, how it is that hearing the uncontaminatable name, holy name, can affect us adversely when heard from somebody of unfavorable consciousness. How is it that the holy name, which is unalterable, can in any way adversely affect us? Honestly, I never really grasped that point. How is it that somebody's impure consciousness could in any way, I don't want to say alter the holy name, because the holy name cannot be altered. And so how can we be adversely affected when we hear from such people?
It is like initially when we hear, we don't hear with rapt attention. We hear, as they say, when I hear a song, I am attached to the tune, but when I am in deep introspection, I understand the lyrics. Initially, I don't focus on the lyrics because I am focusing on the tune. Similarly, when I initially hear superficially, I will only be intending who is singing, which gender he is, how he is dressed, what his looks are, what his tunes are. So the focal point is not on the the real content. The focal point is on the similarly when we honor prasadam also, the focal point is this has less salt, more sour, more spicy. So we focus on those gross content rather than the real core aspect of the prasadam. So the reason why these restrictions are said is because of our amateurishness, or people who don't understand what to see in such things. So up till that point in time, they are educated to to let them see what they are supposed to see in a prasadam, supposed to see in a holy name, it is better that you get it from a right source. At least you are much protected that way. Does it make sense?
Well, I mean, is getting clearer. It's getting
it's
clearer.
complicated. I mean, it's Sakyantya Beda Abeda. Simultaneously, it has its effect. For sure, it is better than not. It is better to hear Hare Krishna Mahamantra rather than hearing some nonsense materialistic music. But it's also more important you hear Hare Krishna Mahamantra from a bona fide source to have full effect, because the intent also is relayed in a very positive manner rather than just meant for some commercial purpose. So the same thing holds good for prasadam as well.
Okay, so the way I understand you is that when hearing the Maha Mantra, let's say neophyte, not self-realized soul, right? The sadhaka, right? When a sadhaka hears Maha Mantra, in the beginning stages, the sadhaka might be focused more on the peripheral attributes of the name, maybe, rather than the name itself. And to the extent that we are listening to the peripheral things, we're vulnerable to having our consciousness adversely affected, if not heard from a proper source. But to the extent that one's focus is on the sound vibration of the holy name only, is to that extent that they won't be affected even by the consciousness with which the speaker is speaking that name. Is it something like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's much clearer now. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So, dear devotees, are there any questions for Prabhuji? Can you please raise your hands if there are any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful, beautiful class and nice question answer session. Thank you, Prabhuji. Shall I share one point, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please. Pleasure.
Yesterday, I was hearing to Guru Maharaj lecture. In that, Guru Maharaj was also talking about the prasadam. So he was telling two things. If it is not a prasadam, even if it's not only we are sharing the consciousness, but also the karma and everything. If it is a prasadam, the consciousness we are sharing. Like Guru Maharaj was telling, and then Guru Maharaj was also telling that when you share the prasadam, like even Guru Maharaj's Mahaprasadam is shared, right? All Mahaprasadam is shared. Then that also they will be very careful to share, whom to share. He was explaining that because Guru Maharaj needs to take our karma if it is shared. Just want to share that point, Prabhuji.
Thank you. First class. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. All grace to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful class at the right moment when there were questions about prasadam. And I just would like to share one thing, Prabhu. We moved to India and there are not much services exactly how I was doing over there. So I was missing on that part. But then there's a next door neighbor. Her family is not they eat or everything, but she is she has kantimala in her neck. So then she is vegetarian proper. And then I every time it's moreover I just share prasadam with her. And it came to such a point that now, just yesterday, 2 days back, when I made something, she said, I just want to make like how you made it. I don't, and specifically she said, I do not want to add any onion garlic into it. And that was so nice because some dishes are specifically, they want that flavor into it. But when she said that, it's like I cooked along with her and it was an amazing feeling. And she also offered it to the Lord. So moreover, the whole year's pickle has been made and they do not make it without garlic. But then she said, no, I want to make it just like you. And she avoided all the garlic also into it. So it was such an amazing feeling, like I just remembered how Srila Prabhupada could convert all the hippies. And it's wonderful, Prabhu. And this class was at a right time, how prasadam is important and how this is also one of the biggest service we can do to change people's mindset.
Thank you. One day, Gopal Krishna Maharaj asked Srila Prabhupada, this is in Juhu, about there was a book exhibition, very famous international book fair was organized in Mumbai. So Maharaj said that, Prabhupada, why don't we, keep our books in that exhibition? Srila Prabhupada, of course, there's nothing for or against. We can always get an opportunity to display Prabhupada's books, great. But Prabhupada made a profound statement. He said that my books are not sold by the marketing technique or marketing strategy. My books are sold by the love my devotees have for my book and for Krishna. So these preaching initiatives that you just said, that when in this entire process of you cultivating, it is also your love, your care, and as well as the association that you had shared has got a very positive influence over and above all the other things. So that is why this process of Krishna consciousness is very personal. It is not that we just print a list of procedure how to make a prasadam and cuisine and just people have become devotees. No, I mean, sure, that is all going to be helping, but the personal touch, with one-on-one definitely transform people's life. And all glory to your service, and may you do more and more such preaching and win souls to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhu. I just want her to start chanting now. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just wanted to thank you for the very wonderful class and patiently answering all the questions to the point very nicely. I really like the catalyst that you mentioned along with our chanting. It was very, very beautiful, Prabhu, the way you analyzed it. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, do you have some time, Prabhu? I have one question, not regarding the prasadam.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Prabhu, yesterday we celebrated Narsimha Chaturdasi. So yesterday I am sharing some stories with my kid. So my kid asked, so Narsimha Bhagavan is the kills demons and removes all the obstacles. So in the same time we have Hanuman also, and we have Ganesh also, who removes all the obstacles and kill all the demons. So she's asking how Lord Narsimha is different from them, or how he is superior from them. So how to answer her question, Prabhu?
Sometimes kids' questions are so important that it actually checks our philosophical understanding sometimes. It is like this, if you can think of a military where there are different layers of authority. Okay, at the end, a military camp attacks another enemy camp, but it is easily said, but there is a hierarchy. So when the Supreme Lord, being the final in charge, or final summum and bonum of everything, under him there are several agents, several personalities who operate, and he empowers different agents at different point in time for doing different functions. So Ganesh, according to Brahma Samhita, is a wonderful servant of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. Hanuman is a wonderful servant of Lord Rama. So they are empowered personalities. There are 4 types of people. Krishna, the original personality. Krishna's incarnation. Krishna's expansion. Krishna's reflection. And Krishna's empowerment. So Krishna, original personality, his avatar, incarnation. Then his expansion, he expands further into whatever, Balaram, Chaturvyuha. Then there are Krishna's reflection, like Lord Shiva. Then Krishna's empowerment, like Prabhupada, Prithu Maharaj, and Shakti Avesh avatars. So the point is, that all these different people, they have received their power from the Supreme Lord. So Nrsingadev, who is the original personality of Godhead, has got the original power, and Ganesh or Hanuman, being their, part of their Sena, part of their army, they have got associated, empowered powers. So using that, they help. But so long as we are dutifully aligned with Krishna, their help will be beneficial for us. If we are against Krishna, then they will use the power to tame us, to train us, to regulate us, rather than helping us. So we need to make sure that we are devotees and we are sincerely practicing Krishna consciousness to get their help. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Yes, got it. And another question she had, Prabhu, my kid. So she asked why Brahma had 4 heads. We see all the demigods or other persons, not for that matter, only 1 head, but especially Brahma, we see he had 4 heads, 6 heads, 8 heads. So she had this question also, Prabhu.
Brahma not only have 4 heads, we have 100 heads Brahma, we have 1,000 heads Brahma, 10,000 heads Brahma. Rather than, I'm not sure how to say why they have 4 heads. So basically, these heads represent different functions. Also, they play or different. Like for example, in the case of Ravana, Ravana used to have 10 heads, and it is that each of his head was superlative in one function. One head was very, focusing, responsible for chanting Vedic mantras, one for singing songs, one for, ruling, administrating things very nicely. So there are several heads of Brahma, Ravana for that matter. So similarly, my understanding, I'm exactly not sure why he had been given 4 heads. For example, Lord Shiva has got 5 faces, Panchamukha, and so all these things are, just a representation of their different responsible functions that they carry. And in spiritual dimension, everything is conscious. So they're all represented by their faces, by their arms, by their power. This is purely to demonstrate their power. So it is purely, you can say that Brahma was powerful enough to take that role which Krishna wanted him to perform, and in the process he did that role. So there are some Brahmas who have got 100,000, 10,000 heads, and 100 heads and stuff like that. So probably it is meant towards their function rather than anything else. That's all I could think of. Hats off to your kid. I'm sure she's a born Vaishnavi to check us into our devotional understanding. So maybe one day she'll come out and preach to the whole world and logically explain how Krishna is great.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Please bless her. She will continue in her Krishna conscious life, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Only these kids have to bless us because they're all blessed kids. So just because of them being in our lives, we are being devotees. Many of times we have realized them. So equally we pray for them every time. When I see small kids, I pray to Krishna that may them be shielded by this Kali's evil effects. Otherwise, they are such a wonderful children. All glories to them.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, thank you so much. Dear devotees, are there any questions for Prabhuji? Neha Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Prabhuji, you live in India?
Yes, I live in Mumbai.
Okay, I have a question. Since yesterday we celebrated Narsingha Chaturashti, I wanted to know. I wanted to know which is the best temple of Narsingha Dev in India, or which part, or which is famous temple?
Which part of India you belong to?
Gujarat.
Gujarat. Okay. See, there are Narsingha Dev temples in South India. There is first to begin with, we have a wonderful Narsingha Dev temple in Mayapur, beautiful, wonderful manifested Nrsingadev with the help of Vaishnavas endeavors. So in Mayapur, we have a beautiful Nrsingadev. We have a wonderful, beautiful Nrsingadev in Rajkot, in ISKCON temple. If you go to ISKCON Rajkot, we have a beautiful Nrsingadev there. We have Nrsingadev in Tirupati. We have Nrsingadev in ISKCON temples. There are few ISKCON temples who have chosen to have Nrsingadev as their deities to be worshipped. Over and above that, in general, all Sri Vaishnava temples, if you go to any Sri Vaishnava temple, by and large, those temples have got Nrsingadev altar. It's Nrsingadev and Sudarshana Chakra, they are simultaneously worshipped. Two sides they are worshipped. And if you want to go to an exclusive Narsingha Kshetra, there is a place called Melkote. Not Melkote, I'm sorry. There is a place called oh Krishna, it's in Andhra Pradesh. There's a
Ahobilam temple. Ahobilam.
Ahobilam, yes, yeah, Ahobilam. There's a place called Ahobilam where you get to see Nayan Nava Narasingha Kshetra, they say. You can see Nayan Nrsingadev deities are there. Beautiful place. Several places. Typically, there are, if you go to Mayapur, apart from ISKCON temple, there is a place called Narsingha Palli. So they say that that's the place where Nrsingadev came after he killed Hiranyakashipu, and he cleansed his hand on the river, that was flowing there. And it is said that there were times where the river used to be red in color because of the blood of Hiranyakashipu. So there's a place called Narsingha Palli. So plenty of places are there, but easiest one for you being in Gujarat is you can visit Rajkot, and beautiful Nrsingadev there.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, dear devotees, are there any questions for Prabhuji? So if there are no more questions, we can pay our obeisances to Prabhuji and all the devotees on the call. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, once again giving your valuable time and association and enlightening on the topic and the wonderful question answer session also, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Ram Giridhari Prabhuji ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
All.